Mr. President, between 1 and 10, how would you grade the White House response so far to the hurricane?
I'd say it was a 10. I give ourselves a 10. We have provided so much, so fast. We were actually there before the storm hit. I would give a 10. I think we did a fantastic job, and we're being given credit. We have done a really great job, and I think our response was better than anyone has ever seen.
And Governor, between 1 and 10, how do you grade the White House response?
As I said, the president has answered all of our petitions, and this is still ongoing, so we expect that that'll continue.
Did the United States, did our government, when we came in, did we do a great job? Military, first responders, FEMA, did we do a great job?
You responded immediately, sir, and you did so. Tom and Brock, they have been on the phone with me essentially every day since the disaster. The response is there. Do we need to do a lot more? Of course we do.
President Trump meeting with the governor yesterday of Puerto Rico, grading the federal response to Puerto Rico's hurricane devastation. Exactly a month after Maria's landfall is still a desperate situation with more than 80% of the island without power. Joining us now is the gentleman you saw in that clip, Puerto Rico's Governor Ricardo Rossello. Governor, good morning. Joe Scarborough has the first question for you.
Governor, before we start this interview, I want to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate the greatness of Morning Joe, of Willie, of Mika, and me? 1 to 10, sir, how do you rate us?
It's
No pressure.
ungradable. It's ungradable. You break all scales.
That is the correct answer. So we asked this question before. Tell us how things are going in Puerto Rico. How dire does the situation remain, and what do Americans need to do, both in the government and out of the government, to help alleviate the pain and suffering that you all are enduring?
Well, first of all, yesterday, Joe, we had a great set of meetings in the White House. We looked at history in Puerto Rico, and something like that had not occurred for our territory, where we not only had the opportunity to speak with the president, the vice president, but also talk about the immediate, midterm, and long-term necessities for Puerto Rico. The truth of the matter is, a lot of work has been done, but we still need to do a lot more. And the current conditions are, as you stated, less than 20% of the people in Puerto Rico have access to energy. About 70% of the people have access to water. That means 30% does not. We have estimated over 250,000 homes have been partially or completely devastated by the storm. There still has been rain events in Puerto Rico which have significantly altered and affected the infrastructure. Even with light rains, because the soil is saturated, things are still collapsing. We have about 5,000 people still in shelters that we, of course, are trying to move to temporary areas. And we're, their telecoms is down. And although we're making progress on all of these areas, it is critical that we get the life-sustaining materials such as water, food, medicine, continue getting that so that we can elevate this effort into a recovery phase, focus on reestablishing energy, and then, of course, the rebuilding of Puerto Rico.
Governor Rossello, you've been extraordinarily diplomatic on the political side of the controversy that surrounded the federal response to Hurricane Katrina, and I understand why you're doing it. You're trying to get help for your people, and you've represented Puerto Rico well. But what was going through your mind when the President of the United States in the Oval Office turned to you yesterday and asked you how great a job he was doing?
Well, I just answered truthfully. The truth of the matter is, the president has responded. He has responded to all of our petitions. I've had enormous access to the president and to his staff, and they have done so quickly. And so we're very grateful for that. And I wanted to answer truthfully. And I think the other component is the recognition by everybody that we still need to do a lot more. That there's a lot of work ahead of us. This is a long haul, and we're grateful that the White House and Congress, we also had some congressional meetings yesterday, are supporting Puerto Rico for the long haul. We recognize the great job that over 18,000 people are doing over here, whether it's DOD or other federal offices working over here. But we also know that in order to get through this, we need to do a lot more.
So, Governor Rosario, some people have trouble squaring the two things you said. At first, when we asked you about the crisis, you described a crisis of a place that has 80% of the people without electricity, many people without water, people in shelters, hospitals running on backup generators. So how can that be true at the same time that the federal government has done a great job responding to the crisis?
It's the level of devastation, and I would invite anybody to come over here. We've had several CODELs. We've had people come to Puerto Rico, and essentially when you have a Category 4, Category 5 hurricane that's very slow and it just brushes through the middle of the island, the level of devastation is unprecedented. When you don't have an energy grid that sustains your hospitals, that sustains your waterways, telecoms, and so forth, all of those components break down, and we're talking about access to 3.4 million U.S. citizens. No matter how much food and water, historical levels of food and water have been delivered, there is still a pressing need. The reality that we're in an island, and different from Florida or from Texas, where you can get, cars and equipment just driven to your state. We have to get them either flown in or we have to get them through ports. So I just want to be truthful. I know that it's hard to reconcile, but both of those components are the truth. There is an effort. The men and women on the ground are working hard so that we can get out of this emergency phase, but we still need to put the pedal to the metal and work as hard as possible, find creative ways to get out of the emergency and to stabilize the situation. And of course, on a parallel track, which I think is very important, very critical, look forward and see how we can rebuild Puerto Rico in a much stronger, much better, a much smarter way. That would be the positive outcome, the silver lining in all of this. If we can use all of these resources, not only to put things back together again, I think that wouldn't be acceptable, but rather to put Puerto Rico in a much stronger position than before.
Well, as you know, Governor Rosario, there are many of your fellow American citizens here stateside who are rooting for you, having fundraisers, food drives, and everything else to help Puerto Rico, and we will stay on this story. Puerto Rico's Governor, Ricardo Rosello, thank you so much for taking some time this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for the efforts, and thank you for the thoughts and prayers.
Okay, we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.